good evening and welcome to Queer News Tonight. This is the world's first and only LGBTQ plus daily evening television news. We're broadcasting live and then we're available on demand. And we're available on all smart televisions, including Roku, Apple Television, Android TV, Amazon Fire TV, YouTube, and Facebook. It's time to queer up the news. It's Monday, April 10th, 2023. We are live and literally out of the closet and into the headlines. So many of your important stories we're going to tell this evening on Queer News Tonight.
This is the world's first live daily LGBTQ evening news show, literally out of the closet and into the headlines on Queer News Tonight with Al Ferguson.
I'm your anchor at Queer News Tonight, Al Ferguson, and this evening we bring you the news of and a perspective representing the LGBTQ plus community from South Florida, America, and across our planet.
This is the world's first and only unedited live LGBTQ plus evening news show. Whatever happens unique in LGBTQ plus news, you will see it and hear it.
Hotspots Magazine Happening Out Television Network is a nonprofit 501c3 media company in the same model of PBS and NPR, but designed for the LGBTQ plus community. Our mission is to support the 10 pillars of our LGBTQ plus community. We want to inform and educate the key issues of our Black community, Latino, lesbian, trans, student and youth, seniors, HIV and AIDS, healthcare, business, political advocacy, and faith. Help us support our community.
We are part of one of the largest LGBTQ plus media companies in America, Hotspots Magazine and Happening Out Television Network.
Our magazine is celebrating 38 years of the LGBTQ plus experience, and our television news, talk, and entertainment shows support our mission to educate the LGBTQ plus and broader community.
Well, let's begin by welcoming anchor FayWhat. She's a radio and television personality and has a popular blog and YouTube channel aiming to unite the L and the G together. She's a hostess and MC for many South Florida events, an animal advocate, and owner of Faye's Fur Family. Also, make sure to catch the FayWhat Show, the first LGBTQ plus morning show, Mondays at 9 a.m. Eastern online or on your smart TV. And Faye was the winner of the 2022 SFGN Best Local Television Personality. Welcome, Faye.
Yeah, I'm going to ride that wave for a while, just so you know. So it's Monday, and I want to remind everybody that Dining Out for Life is back again this Thursday. You've heard it. We've all been a part of it, right? It's an amazing cause. All these incredible restaurants in Fort Lauderdale, Wilton Manors, all over, are going to be given part of their proceeds of their daily, whatever they sell all week long, all day long. They're going to give it over to Broward House, which is an incredible organization that helps people in our community live and strive with HIV/AIDS. So I'm happy to be one of the ambassadors this year. Whoop, whoop, whoop. So I'm going to be at Bubbles and Pearls from 5 to 10 p.m. on Thursday. Make your reservation and join me for dinner. Okay, a large percentage of your bill is going to go out to Broward House, which is incredible. But they're not the only restaurants participating. We got Tulio's, Bona, we've got Patio, we've got Rosie's. If you don't come to Bubbles and Pearls, which you should, because I'm going to be there, you should go to another restaurant. And if you can't, get takeout. And if you can't do that, just donate to Broward House. They do incredible things. All right. Next up, let's welcome anchor Dr. Julio Capo Jr. Julio is going to be a proud member of the Stonewall National Museum and Archives in Fort Lauderdale, one of the largest LGBTQ archives in the United States, and an associate professor of history and the deputy director of the Wilsonian Public Humanities Lab at Florida International University. He's the author of the book Welcome to Fairyland, Queer Miami Before 1940, and an editor and contributor to the Made by History section of the Washington Post, which offers historical context to today's headlines. Welcome back, Julio.
Hi, baby.
Hi.
I can't wait for Thursday.
Yeah.
Now that I know you're going to be at Bubbles and Pearls, I'm not going to be there. No, I'm kidding. I will definitely be there. I can't wait. I'm go and support all these great places and that are doing so much for our community. Thanks for telling us about that, Faye. Next, let's welcome anchor Amy McGrotty. Amy was a real estate attorney for almost 30 years before she transitioned into real estate sales and is now known as the real estateologist. She works alongside John Castelli and Rod Blacklock at Castelli Real Estate Services in Wilton Manors and part owner in residential and commercial sales. Amy studied and played taiko drums for a decade, yes, and practices bass guitar in the privacy of her home, and is a blacksmith hobbyist at the Guild in Pompano Beach in the privacy of her own shop. Goodness, that's amazing. She has previously provided pro bono legal services to people in need and now serves on the board of the Broward Realtors Charitable Foundation and the Outshine LGBTQ plus Film Festival.
Whoop, whoop.
Hey, Amy, what don't you do? That's amazing.
Thank you, Julio.
Makes us look like
I know.
right?
No, Francia does. But we'll see you. We'll hear about you later.
So Outshine Films coming up?
Outshine Film, that's the big upcoming event. Yeah, in Miami, 25th anniversary, 25 years.
Yes.
I met my wife there 20 years ago.
Babies.
So we're getting a room, 10 days in Miami.
Yes.
I love that. Second honeymoon time.
She's given me the idea of going at least for a long weekend and staying downtown Miami.
It's not that far, folks. I live in Miami. I come here every day to do a show.
It's not far, but I'm taking the opportunity for a
But it's more
staycation.
fun.
Take a break.
Fun.
April 20th till April 30th, Miami. Mark your calendar, outshinefilms.com.
Amy's
Be
on the board of Outshine. We did the full. We did a 90-minute special on Outshine
Okay.
and dissected it and talked about all of the fun things that were happening. And starting today, we're doing 20 special reports on the Outshine
That's
Film
amazing.
Festival between now and April 25th. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
I was happy to have Jennifer in bed with me to talk about all the girl films, and we had a lot of fun. Hey, Jen,
and
call
the
me.
film. too.
Awesome.
I might meet my husband there, so I'll be there.
There you go, yeah.
So, Amy, continue.
Oh, it's my turn?
Yes.
Okay.
We got
Well, let's welcome anchor Francia. Francia is an Afro-Venezuelan recording artist, singer-songwriter, dancer, lawyer, and yoga practitioner. His first album, help me out,
Infinita.
Infinita, is streaming on all music platforms and is a genre-fluid melange of Latin rhythms. Before finding his artistic vocation, Francia practiced corporate law in New York City and was a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Welcome, Francia, and congratulations on
Thank
getting
you.
out of law.
Yes, I'm so happy. Thank you for having me. And today I want to thank a couple of my fashion partners. I want to thank Newly for always dressing me fabulously. This is powered by Newly and styled by yours truly. And I also want to thank San Angel for this beautiful purse they gave me at the opening of their new collection. This is a Medellin-based in Colombia brand.
Ooh,
and these
oh,
are
my
yes,
people.
and these are recycled jeans, everyone. So they have a beautiful collection called La Victoria in their capsule soul llamada Soy Vencedora.
I love that. Does it make your butt look good, too, like Colombian
Yes.
jeans do?
Absolutely. Everything Colombia makes you look better.
Gorge.
And last but
And Venezuela.
thank you. Thank you so much. And now we are the reporters for Queer News Tonight. And this evening, we begin with the queer headlines. The LGBTQ plus community in South Florida and across America is diverse. Our community across the world is vast. And here are the bullet points of the queer news for today, Monday, April 10th, 2023.
Well, first up, let's queer up business. An epic war of Big D versus Little D. LGBTQ plus and all of Orlando stands with Big Disney, not Little DeSantis. The editorial board of the Orlando Sentinel has published a scathing takedown of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis for what it described as his, quote, foolish, petty, and ultimately selfish political vendetta, end quote, against Disney. DeSantis has made it clear he is unwilling to relent in his feud with the entertainment giant, which all began with Disney's opposition to DeSantis's Don't Say Gay law. The Sentinel's board skewered DeSantis for gearing up to expend even more effort on battling Disney, saying he wants to waste money, quote, on a small army of very expensive attorneys, end quote, instead of actually serving the people of Florida. The board wrote, quote, focus on your actual job, end quote. The Sentinel editorial board also infused some humor into its editorial, accusing the governor of allowing his, quote, inner Donald, end quote, to govern his actions. Quote, in this case, we mean Donald Duck, end quote. And the board continued. The editorial board said DeSantis is living in a fantasy land where he cast himself as the hero and also lambasted his repeated missteps. It also called out DeSantis for not paying attention to the public agreements Disney made to prevent DeSantis from taking the company's power. DeSantis has been ruthlessly mocked for being outplayed by Disney, but he has made it clear his war isn't going to end anytime soon. They concluded the editorial by writing, quote, "So take your advice from the Queen." And in this case, we mean Queen Elsa. Let it go. So the issues here are really quite significant. The Orlando Sentinel, along with the Miami Herald, Tampa Bay Times, the Sun Sentinel here in Fort Lauderdale, 4 major newspapers in Florida. Orlando Sentinel is arguably, in terms of tourism, the most powerful newspaper in the world, followed by tourism interest. And for Central Florida, finally, Central Florida is really beginning to weigh in that this has gone too far. The editorial position will be widely embraced and endorsed by the tourism infrastructure in Central Florida, which is the largest single tourism infrastructure in the world. No other city. It's the largest tourism political base. The other thing that I think is really interesting about what the Sentinel has done, and now the weigh-in that tourism is going to pour right in and agree with the Orlando Sentinel, is that the governor is being so anti-business. Now, this may be an Achilles heel for DeSantis because he is trying to make the argument about woke coming to Florida and dying, and trying to make the argument in his election bid for next year that he made all the right decisions for business in Florida, which was good for Florida. This petty attack, which is what the Sentinel is suggesting, and tourism is going to follow right in on, could be an Achilles heel because it is suggesting, what is it you're gaining from the business attacks?
Yeah, and what exactly are you doing, Ron DeSantis? Like, seriously, like, it's true. I have to agree completely. Do your freaking job, okay? Homeowners insurance have doubled. There is no place for renters to find places to live. All right. My FPL has gone up substantially. And when I did the research for it, I didn't have a vote in it. OK, that was DeSantis who just decided to make that happen. You know, do your freaking job instead of messing with the mouse.
And I think our joke, the big D versus the little D.
So spot on, right? Like so spot on.
Right.
All puns aside and all these kind of other things, I'm really grateful for the Fourth Estate. Like, that is where I'm so happy that media, and I have to say, it's taken them a little bit to get there.
There's the one negative here.
Yeah, but I instead of kind of focusing, I'm always Mr. Negative or whatever on all these things. I don't know, I get it. But I'm really happy to see this now, and thank you to Orlando Sentinel for speaking out for what has really been a bonkers story. That is, and I've been writing about similar things for a while, and from a historical perspective, and I also have been wondering how he's going to frame this, because it does look very anti-business. And what he's largely kind of framed it as, like, it's corporate, what he called corporate wokeness, right? So that is, he kind of has put it all together under this umbrella term of what woke is or what woke isn't, whatever that is to him or isn't, who knows, right? Because it's not like he knows what that means. But that is, I would love to see more people speak out against this. And these big institutions, right? The Fourth Estate matters, use that platform to tell people exactly what he's doing, because so many people remain uninformed, and it really needs to happen.
And isn't Disney doing this big LGBTQ convention coming up, like the counter?
The largest in the world. This is an ongoing event that happens every year
in September.
Out Proud, and more than 5,000 are coming.
Oh, wow!
And why this convention? DeSantis is skating on thin ice, frankly, because what is happening is at this conference, those woke businesses, which, you know, the 1,000 biggest businesses in the world are coming to Disney. And they come to talk about how their diversity and inclusion programs can improve and how they refine them. So they're going to talk about everything that Ron DeSantis doesn't want to talk about on the Disney property, and he continues to serve this up. So all of these diversity leaders, corporate CEOs, chairmen, vice presidents that lead up diversity at NBC or ABC or are all going to be talking about, why are you doing this? That's what's coming in September. One other interesting thing on this story, I'm curious what y'all think about this. His initial response was, wait, his board that he propped in has been crushed. The outgoing vote of Reedy Creek has basically preempted the silliness of the new board that he created. His immediate response is, well, we'll show them because we'll invoke lots of new taxes on them, and we'll put tolls on the road. And Disney immediately said, wait, you're going to add tolls to visitors that visit your state? Because we don't participate in tolls in any way. So it doesn't affect our business. Right. You're just punishing your consumers.
Yep.
It's insane to me. I mean, there's such a contradiction, right? So you cannot be both pro-business and then the business that argues against you, you go against it, right? And
Except for you.
Right, and it's showcasing the inconsistencies in their argument, which are all across reviews, by the way. This is not the only area in which they are inconsistent, but it just further shows that point you were talking about.
I'm curious of all of you, because this report, we're part of the fourth estate, by the way.
I know.
We're doing it in our own community, in LGBT. Who's going to win? At the end of the day, if you pull out your crystal ball and you go, big D of Disney, little d of DeSantis, who's going to win this
Disney.
argument?
Big D.
Big D. Happiness is going to win.
Yeah. Do you agree with that?
I do, and I actually think that could be one of the ways that he's taken down. I mean, it's one of, but I also will say capitalism will win. That is like, who are we kidding? And this kind of large, that is like one of the.
That's why.
Exactly, that's why. Statistics make this very clear. You know what's good for business? Diversity, right? Like that is like, it's not just like, this is why, you know, the United Colors of Benetton kind of idea of diversity, which doesn't always mean, actually rarely means social equality. It barely ever translates to that. But diversity is good for business because you know what capitalism doesn't care about? What you look like. If you have money,
and it's green,
or who you're sleeping with, or who you're, if you've got money to spend, it wants your monies. And like that is, so it's really, really clear that what's going to win here is the bucks. And like Disney represents that for Florida. Ron DeSantis, I think, picked a really losing battle here.
Yeah.
And I think it's another good indication of how he's doing his in contact with his D.
Inner Donald.
His little Donald.
Little Donald Duck.
I think that this started out for him to be the typical political football. They want to get. How do they think that they get their votes? They throw the gays around and they throw the kids around and abortion and all that. And this just spiraled out of control.
You know, one of the things I also think that's interesting in this story, and just very superficially, is one of the things that that I'm very, very fearful of DeSantis is he's a smart Donald Trump. Yeah. And I've been saying this for the last couple of years from my perspective. This is the first time where I go, you're not so bright, dude.
Right?
I'm beginning to go, oh, wait, you're going to carry
flaws.
this. So, yeah, I can see some flaws in your makeup now, and that's good. Because we're going to tear you apart down the road because of it.
What's that expression?
Feather by feather.
Yes.
From your mouth to God's ears? Is that like the expression? Maybe we be correct about this.
All right, wait till the drag queens get a hold of you.
All right, now let's queer up the worldview. No place for hate. Wolves and Chelsea condemn anti-gay chants as police make arrests. 3 people were arrested in connection with anti-gay and discriminatory chants made during the Premier League soccer match between Wolves and Chelsea last week. Both teams and the Premier League condemned the chants directed at Chelsea supporters during the game, which the hosting Wolves won 1-0. The stadium announcer reportedly told the home crowd, who sang the homophobic chant during that match, that those continuing with the rhetoric would be kicked out and potentially charged. Wolves issued a statement saying, quote, homophobia, like all other forms of discrimination, has no place in football or society, and anyone engaging in discriminatory behavior is committing a criminal offense, end quote. Away team Chelsea FC also publicly condemned the incident, saying it finds all forms of discriminatory behavior totally unacceptable. West Midlands police said 3 men, aged 32, 24, and 21 were arrested on suspicion of a public order offense which caused harassment, alarm, or distress and also of using threatening words or behavior to stir up sexual orientation hatred. All three men have been released on bail while the police investigation continues. While bigoted soccer chants have been an issue with the sport for decades, the controversy surrounding the now banned Chelsea Rent Boy chant sparked up again in January, following a New Year's Day friendly between Nottingham Forest and Chelsea. You know, there's a lot to say. One, I just want to say I always get, it's because I'm very butch. So
no, you're so
butch.
Like,
so,
yeah.
I always get the sports stories, which I
want to hit on you because you're so butch.
I'm so butch. And thank you. I want to hit on you too. I actually do play a lot of gay sports, so that actually is true. But this isn't a gay sport. This is just gays in sport. Anyway, neither here nor there. So I am a little butch. Not even. Neither. Okay, I will talk about the story. I promise. But
says the tennis player.
Stop talking. Don't interrupt me. And but I love this story. That is, I love seeing institutions stand behind all of it. Right. Like going back to our previous conversation, our last story. Right. It's, if you have paying customers, and you do, who support this sport, support them, right? Yeah. That is, the institutions need to think diversity is good for sports too, right? That is, inclusivity matters in these spaces, and these are historic spaces that have not been friendly to people who are different, right? In this case, queer, trans, all sorts of people, right? Who have otherwise, to say nothing about the historic anti-blackness in a lot of these spaces. That is, welcome us, right? And we will support you in return. These are the kinds of...
an interesting thing that's happening here is the sports league, Premier League, is saying that this is a criminal offense. Mm-hmm. And that's very powerful in their words, because they're saying the chanting is illegal. Now, whether it goes that far and that is defensible is a different issue, but they're suggesting it. And the reason I think that is valuable is they're suggesting how strongly they are opposing crowds that participate in their stadiums. And they're claiming basically, we control the space at our soccer match, and therefore we will eject you and say you are breaking the law if you do it. Now that's a very interesting definition of what Premier League is doing, because imagine NASCAR saying that. It's almost unimaginable that NASCAR would say something to that degree of rejection. And remember, while we don't tell you the slur, first off, Rent Boy doesn't exist anymore. And it's Rent Men in terms of what they're doing, but they're continuing with the slur because they're making a reference to to underage sexual gay is underage sex. Right. That's what they're trying to.
But when you think about soccer is such a macho kind of sport, right? Like NASCAR that you referenced, right? And here's the thing, like these people have been doing these chants forever and ever. So something that I've learned from my trans sisters is that there's so much unlearning to be done, and this is one of them. All right. So kudos to the owners of Chelsea and the Wolves for standing up and saying, "Hey, you will get kicked out." Mind you, when I first read the story, I was like, Chelsea in the Village, they have a soccer? Anyway, but my point is that this is how you get ahead. This is how.
What did you say, Julio?
Right? But this is how you begin the unlearning, folks, is by telling people that maybe don't know any better that it's not right to do these chants, right? And another thing, a whole stadium full of people and only 3 people got arrested? Seriously, all right? Please.
And it's encouraging for soccer at large. A few months ago, we saw at the World Cup that, leagues were silent, organizers were silent when an Iranian soccer player who participated in a pro-women's rights protest, he was sentenced to death. Oh my God. His name is Amir Nazar Azadani. And so this sends a clear message that leagues can take a stand and they can speak out.
Yeah. I will say, though, just to kind of be devil's advocate to the last part, there's one thing about ejecting somebody. I'm never for kind of further criminalizing people. The idea of arresting people for, if it's not violent, if it's not, I don't know how I feel about further criminalizing people for, that makes me very uncomfortable for something that is, we can resort to other ways of removing them from that space without.
But if they're inciting a fight,
right? That's different.
Okay,
but that's different from a chant.
You should get arrested. The next time you'll think twice before saying that.
I'm playing devil's advocate.
And heard. We heard those words added.
And also, I believe that.
Yes. An interesting thing in reference to homophobic chanting is the campaign that we're watching from the Anti-Defamation League. I'm sure all of you have seen the commercials now. Anti-Defamation League has and other organizations, has a very aggressive television and media campaign of Blue Square. And saying, do you stand with this or not? Because if you see the Blue Square, it is standing up against religious hate. And specifically in the campaign, it is saying that the chants and the comments in social media or in chanting that Hitler was right, which is what the very harsh alt-right Proud Boys are chanting at rallies. Hitler was right. That is a hate crime. Yeah. And there are interpretations going on that is a violation of law. And so the balance that is coming is your free speech rights versus hate speech. And that's what's going on here. So I hear your asterisks, but they're using the same kind of interpretation. This is hate speech, and so therefore it's illegal.
And could incite violence. And sometimes does incite violence.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah.
Next, let's queer up the USA view. San Francisco holds massive fight back rally for drag and trans.
Right. A huge turnout at the Drag Up Fight Back March and rally in San Francisco. Thousands gathered outside City Hall and marched to Union Square to speak out against hate.
We know how to organize, we know how to get loud, and we know how to fight back.
Activist Honey Mahogany, who's also chair of the San Francisco Democratic Party, said people's lives are in danger, and it's important for the community and allies to take a stand.
We have been absolutely horrified to see all of the legislation that is being lodged against our community. Over 400 bills being introduced in the last couple of months that attack trans people's rights, that attack drag queens. It's unacceptable.
There was a huge turnout at the Drag Up Fight Back March and rally in San Francisco Saturday. Thousands gathered outside City Hall and marched to Union Square to speak out against hate. Honey Mahogany, an activist and chair of the San Francisco Democratic Party, said people's lives are in danger and the LGBTQ plus community and allies need to take a stand. She said, quote, "We know how to organize, we know how to get loud, and we know how to fight back," end quote. State Senator Scott Wiener was also at the event. Organizers said drag queens and the trans community are being demonized. This rally was a response to all extreme queer rhetoric. Gabby Burgos Colon with the Harvey Milk Club said, quote, "Visibility is important. Having space is important. Being able to make decisions for our community, for ourselves, is important. I saw a lot of that today," end quote. Saturday's rally came just days after the death of Helklina, a San Francisco drag icon. Helklina was honored at the event. Many held signs with her picture on it. Kudos to San Francisco for leading the way, right? But we need to do something like this. This needs to be popping up everywhere. My ex-girlfriend was actually at this march, and it was a call to action. And all these wonderful organizations that maybe have never touched trans rights or drag rights, all of a sudden came to the forefront, stating their alliance and stating their allyship. Now is the time to do things like this everywhere. Miami Beach Pride is coming up, and I hope to see things like this spur up all over the country because it's so necessary.
One of the things that I think is interesting in activism is you prove the importance and value of activism when it has absolutely no effect on you at all, and you still do it. San Francisco has not a care in the world in terms of support for the trans community or the drag community, because what is, for example, going on in Tennessee or going on in Florida will not be going on in San Francisco. Yeah. So all of those people that you just watched are out to support people in Tennessee and in Florida. And that is a really tremendous sign of activism.
Well, they have Gavin Newsom, who is gorgeous and such an ally, and gorgeous and such an ally, and gorgeous.
He was gorgeous?
Oh my God. One day I was driving down Market Street and he was going into a place to get coffee, and I was like, "I love you. I would go straight for you."
Calm down.
Totally did. He's really, really hot.
I think he's nice.
But again, but then you compare him to Ron DeSantis, who doesn't even see us or hear us or even want to talk to us or want us alive. Yeah. You're right. It means more because they were out there, and it really is not going to affect them like it would us.
I'm curious to what we watched there. West Hollywood over the weekend had we reported on San Francisco, but West Hollywood had a huge protest march. Does it surprise you that we have not seen the same degree of volume flow into the streets here in Florida?
Yes, because we're freaking delusional, okay? It's just like, you know, I don't want to go back to Roe v. Wade, but when that was overturned, I was out in the streets screaming and yelling. And I was looking around to see where the gay boys were, and they were not, okay? And not even a lot of women were out there marching with me. I mean,
that's why it doesn't surprise me.
That's why the delusion is real here. There's something in the freaking water.
You are not surprised.
Nope. Unfortunately.
And you know, it just seems to me, not to wag finger or tongue at our own community here in South Florida and in Florida, but what we watched in this last days in Tennessee and Nashville of the two black state house representatives being removed, a democratically elected representatives being removed, and the white woman was not. It seems to me that we're and she's voiced what she thinks about it. It just seems to me that we're seeing in spades this intersection of black and women and religious faith and drag queens and queer. We're seeing an intersection that we're under attack. And there should be an intersection of all of these communities, but I just don't seem to be seeing it.
I think that there's a few reasons to kind of just unpack a little bit. I mean, for one of the reasons we're not seeing it in Florida, I think, is that Florida has really historically been kind of a almost like an incubator for the like what we call the culture wars, which is not really the culture wars, right? Like that is like I feel like that even that term undermines the significance of what's happening. Like telling people that they don't have a right to exist is not about differences in opinion. That's just an infringement on your human rights, your human and civil rights. But so Florida has a number of reasons. It has a particular, it's the South, but it's also not that. Like it also has this different identity. It's schizophrenic in that way. The Cold War hasn't really ended here. Like there's 100 reasons why Florida looks the way it does. But I always kind of find faith, I think, in black womanist and feminist thought that says, right, until none of us are free until we are all free. That is that in solidarity, this is the reason we have to stand. Like that is, it was disappointing when Roe v. Wade got dismantled and overturned, right? That we didn't see men speaking out, queer, otherwise, right? That is like it's what does that mean if reproductive rights is not part of your agenda, is not something you believe in, what do you stand for, right? That is that it's the only pathway to liberation is if we actually all stand. I mean, I sound like a book or something, but it's true. Yeah.
Preach.
Right? And heard loud and clear. But specifically and to this story about the Drag Up and March rally, in terms of what we see in West Hollywood and we see there in San Francisco, why isn't that going on in Florida? In our LGBTQ community, why isn't it?
Maybe there's still some of that. We are in our little bubble. We're in this protected bubble. We don't feel, I do. I mean, I get it, but I think that a lot of people that live in our community here in South Florida, we feel safe.
Yeah. Last Wednesday, the amendment in the session basically defined, Faye and I did this story and dissected it extensively. They have created a Supreme Court, an attempt to have the Supreme Court sustain a sexual identification ban on drag queens, period, in Florida.
What?
And no way to fight it, and no way to overturn it, or even change the wording.
And we're now 6 days after that amendment is introduced, likely going to be passed by the supermajority, and I hear virtually nothing in the LGBTQ community.
But to that point,
if you're Athena Dion, last week I wouldn't say a drag queen's name, but if you're Athena Dion, I saw Tiffany Fantasia up at the Gay Polo event, and she was spectacular in complete drag. And I asked her, what do you think for you and for the Palace? It's too much, it'll go too far, it'll probably not. And every word she was watching, I'm going, wow, I just think you're really getting it wrong in terms of the impact it's going to have. And I'm worried about what's happening for them. And I'm also worried that the number of people that are worried about it are.
It's not
well, stay worried, Al, because that just seems to, just like what Amy said, I really do think that we're like, these people are delusional. And if we wanted to, even though you think of Florida as horrible as it is, we're down here in this little circle, right? And if we want to only go to gay places and only work at gay organizations and only go to, with gay people and hang out, we could do that. 24 hours a day and never see a straight person if we want to. We have that flexibility here with all the different organizations and different places to go to. And people just say, okay, that doesn't include me. That has nothing to do with me. And that's it. Until it hits them right in the face and it'll be too late by then.
I want to give you just an illustration example, because I've been talking to people all over the country. Today, I was in a meeting with Orange County Pride, California. Anaheim, Santa Ana. And we're talking about their event. Their Pride Parade and Festival is the week after ours in Stonewall. And we're talking about, and we are, Hotspots Magazine happening out is going to support Orange County Pride, especially because of the Magic Kingdom in Anaheim and us jointly supporting in voice in community. And they said in the conversation today, the executive director, that drag queens are the backbone of our Pride event in Orange County, and that we have absolutely no understanding with what we're watching going on in Florida. No understanding of it. And we're talking about it, and I'm realizing, oh my God, they really have no idea other than it's horrible and what can we do to support. And this is coming from 3,000 miles away and 30 miles away from our studio right now. We don't have the same kind of voice.
And to that point, something that really powerful from that video is that they're also the backbone of fighting back. We see Honey Mahogany at the forefront. She's the chair of the Democratic Party, and she's a former RuPaul's Drag Race girl. So we see that that empowerment, not only on a stage, but also behind the scenes, pushing the envelope.
Yeah. And she's gorgeous, by the way.
Gorgeous.
Yes, she is. Okay, so let's queer up the worldview. The world is closing in on anti-LGBTQ plus Hungary as 15 EU countries join lawsuit. A total of 15 European Union countries have joined a legal case against Hungary's child protection law, widely criticized as being anti-LGBT. We have Belgium, Luxembourg, Netherlands, Portugal, Austria, Ireland, Denmark, Malta, Spain, Sweden, Finland, Slovenia, France, Germany, and Greece, together with the European Parliament, will act as third parties in the lawsuit filed last year by the European Commission. The deadline to join the case ended on April 6th. The Hungarian law, approved in June 2021, contains one provision that prohibits or heavily restricts depictions of homosexuality and gender reassignment in media content and educational material addressed to audiences under 18 years of age. This triggered a political backlash, with countries signing joint letters and prime ministers openly voicing their discontent with their Hungarian counterpart, Viktor Orban. Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte said that if Hungary moved ahead with the plans, quote, as far as I'm concerned, then there's nothing left for them in the EU, end quote. The European Commission, which oversees the compatibility of national law with EU rules, asked Hungary to explain why the ban on LGBTQ plus content was necessary to achieve the law's main objectives. Unconvinced by Budapest's reasoning, the EU executive launched an infringement procedure, arguing the legislation infringed upon fundamental rights and several regulations of the single market. I don't even understand this. It's like a 10,000 steps back in time.
Yeah.
From my people. It's where my grandfather was from.
Oh, is he? Wow.
Yeah.
How is Hungary on abortion rights, Amy, or anybody at the table? Does anybody know?
I don't.
Because somebody needs to make sure of that real quick, all right? If you're not going to give sex education to anybody under 18, then any boy can go over to a girl and go, this won't get you pregnant, just a tip. And there's going to be a bunch of people pregnant and not knowing what to do, okay? How can you not give sex education to someone who can have sex?
Yeah.
And that's just the tip of the iceberg with this.
Tip of the iceberg.
Funny. I just put it right out there. I know we're going to talk about Hungary and the EU, but let me point out from my seat, this is an incredibly important story to watch as it applies to the United States. Because we're watching something that is epical. First off, I want to point out about France and Germany. They did not come out of saying that they were coming in as basically plaintiffs in the lawsuit until last week. And both France and Germany has said that, and which is true now that the UK is not part of the EU. France and Germany are the two power seats in the EU. Sorry, Spain. Sorry, Italy. And they waited very specifically because they did not want to overwhelm other countries that were deciding on what they were going to do against Hungary. France and Germany have come out now to say, nope, we're joining this. And this could be a live and die moment of Hungary, because we are not going to accept discrimination in the European Union. And this moment, when you hear the phrase, there is nothing left for them in the EU, the EU is getting ready to say, okay, you're out, leave. Hungary can't. They can't do it. Financially, they cannot do it. Their only alternative would be some other kind of alliance, and the closest alliance possibility would be Russia. So they're in perilous situation. That's one broad issue. The question is, will the authoritarian Orbán survive this? Will he survive in his decision-making and the country's decision-making to say, we're so homophobic that we're not even going to acknowledge, a la kind of Russia, that we're not even going to acknowledge LGBT existence in media, and we'll guise it under 18 and under. Wait, sounds like a version of Don't Say Gay, which brings me to why this is so important. Our Hungary is Texas. If Texas, in leadership in Texas, could say, okay, over this issue and this issue, abortion, LGBT, drag queens, trans, maybe other kinds of conservative thought, the leadership of the governor and the attorney general, etc., might go, all right, we'll live and die on this hill, and therefore we secede from the United States. That's effectively what Hungary is doing here. They are saying we're going to be in this moment, and the EU, the United States, is saying, okay, but this is where we are at this moment, and we're taking legal action to come to this conclusion. Hungary is a speeding train for removal from the EU, whether they withdraw or the EU forces them out. But it's a similar kind of this world that we're living in America, in Tennessee and in Texas.
In Florida.
And in Florida. That's what's important in this story, because we're watching someone that they're ahead of us. The EU has been working on this for 4 years, and they're ahead of us. But this is the speeding train that they're on in Europe, and the not as fast speeding train we're on in the United States.
I mean, I could see some parallels with what you're saying, and I can't say I fully agree, but that is, one of the things that, like, the EU is there to check Hungary, and I'm kind of curious, like, who's there to check Texas or Florida or Miami-Dade County or wherever in Nashville, or, you know, so all these different things that are, I think there's a lot of truth here. I feel like one of the things that I take away from the story that frightens me, but also we've seen coming, right? And I think that's part of what you're saying to hear, is that we often think about what's happening in the United States and Florida and Texas in these kind of insular ways, but the idea of child protectionism, like that is the idea that you're going to talk about drag queens as being a danger to children, right, is as a kind of, a coded way of being anti-gay, of anti-trans, is really dangerous. And it's a global phenomenon. We're seeing the rise of kind of neoconservatism, of fundamentalism, not just in the United States, but in parts of South America and the Caribbean and the Western and Eastern Europe, in parts of Western Africa, right? Like that is, we're seeing a rise in conservatism. It's a global phenomenon.
And let's call it the right word, neo-fascism.
Neo-fascism. I think you're right. And I mean, there's lots of different versions and iterations of this, but the fact that you can look at this law and almost think of it as Don't Say Gay, or a version of Don't Say Gay, in another language, right? I mean, just literally in another language is horrifying, right? And it also makes that combating this is going to be difficult.
But you know what's encouraging? The fact that 15 countries in the EU not only signed up to be signatories as third parties in this infringement action, but they're also making a broader statement, which is, this is where we stand on these issues and moving forward. And it's not just signing on to an amicus brief, it's also stating your position more broadly.
Well,
I'm curious, do y'all believe the Union? Do you believe these 15 countries, especially France and Germany? Okay, well, then there's nothing else to discuss about you staying in the EU. Do you believe them?
No. No, I don't think they're going to stand behind it so much because they have a lot riding on this financially as well. Hungary does, so they're still kind of new coming out of communism in Budapest, so it's kind of hard to privatize stuff that was not privatized for so many years, and all the persecution and all the people that died. And I know a lot of Hungarians that still live there that are very homophobic. You know, you try to change one person at a time, and even then, the dudes are like, but I can change you. I'm like, no, you can't. It's not possible.
Do you agree with that, that you think the EU ultimately will fold?
I think the processes are longer. It's just not saying you're out. There's so much that goes behind the scenes to secede from the
penalties.
So it's not even actionable just like that.
But I also really appreciate the point here about the transition from communism to democracy. Like, we can learn a lot about how different governments work after communists take over. I mean, Spain, or any kind of dictatorial takeover. I was thinking of the case of Spain, which of course was, it's transition from fascism, not communism in this case, but fascism to democracy. It actually expedited its gay stance, right? Like, that is, almost overnight, Spain became like a leader in gay marriage.
What's going on in Ukraine?
Ukraine. That's exactly
Russia
right.
has forced Ukraine to go, wait. If we're supporting rights and freedom, wait, maybe it has to be for everybody.
Everyone.
Everyone.
I think what's happening is a usurping of one government to another authoritarian. So what's happened? It's as opposed to a transition to democracy where there is, a kind of let the people rule.
I don't think they're that far.
No,
yet.
that hasn't gotten.
One last point. You said earlier in our conversation, DeSantis, big D versus little d. We talked about capitalism as what's going to win. Isn't that what's at play here? Because the European Union has all of the capitalism cards. Hungary financially cannot be independent. This is not 1996. And so as a result, they become an island in this sea around them that says, we are shunning you, Hungary, and your economic viability is no longer with us. Where are you going to turn? We are going to turn either
To Russia.
To Russia. Oh, and Russia's, the golden goose for Hungary? No, I don't think so. So as a result, will their their homophobic stance be changed because of the loss and the cost of being homophobic, meaning money?
Maybe they'll take the teeth out of that statute. This is negotiation. Maybe that will bring it down to having no teeth. But Hungary will be able to say something.
All of us in our community should be watching what's going on in the Union and Hungary and Poland too. We don't talk about Poland here.
You're right.
And Poland has already made multiple changes because of the pressure on the European Union. Perhaps a neo-fascist is leading Hungary and has not moved yet. But we should watch it closely because I do think that there's a lot of parallels between Tennessee's governor, Florida's governor, and Texas's governor, and Oban of Hungary.
Indeed. Watch this space. Next, let's queer up religion. Sunshine Cathedral queer pastor says Easter resurrection means drag queens, LGBTQ plus youth, families, and more.
Happy Easter. Happy Easter. I'm Darrell Watkins, the senior minister of the Sunshine Cathedral. I'm so glad you are here with us, whether you are at Sunshine Cathedral Square here in the room or you're joining us online as part of our global fellowship. Of course, wherever you're worshiping today, if you're in a Christian church, most churches have some form of vestments where people wear these robes and this finery and these scarves and making the Christian liturgy the longest running drag show in history. So welcome. We do it better, but everyone does it. Everyone does it.
Reverend Dr. Darrell Watkins, senior minister of Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest progressive queer church, equated the crucifixion of Jesus to attacks on LGBTQ plus people. He equated the Easter resurrection to justice love, the concept that actualized can resurrect dehumanized, demonized, or demoralized people to live their lives as their true selves. During the sermon, Reverend Dr. Durrell said, quote, "Jesus touched the untouchable. He loved the unloved. He gave voice to the voiceless. He fed the hungry and told outcasts that they mattered. He saw people who were used to being overlooked." End quote. Jesus dared to dream out loud a divine kingdom where the first are last and the last are first, and love is the law and the Lord of the land. He was tortured to death then. Even now, people are tortured for being who they are. Love is being crucified even still today. People who wish to embrace their true gender identity are under attack. People who wish to celebrate their loving relationships are under attack. People who love to share their talent as drag performers are under attack. People for who they are and for who they love are being silenced, erased, and tormented. When we live in such a world, we must practice resurrection. When love is attacked, love louder. Easter says, "Love wins," end quote. And I love this message, and let it resonate far and wide. Love louder, love wins. And ultimately, we spoke about capitalism winning. I think the ultimate winner is going to be love. And so I love that speech. I love that speech.
Well, we went to Good Friday service at Sunshine Cathedral, and wow, I was so moved. I wasn't raised Catholic, right? I was raised, Catholic light. And, but I couldn't even talk my wife into going. She has severe PTSD from being raised Catholic, and it's a bad one. And she respects and loves, Dr. Reverend Durrell. She went on vacation with us to Italy, where he taught us a lot about theology and then the queer theology, which even, pertains to us, but there are still so many LGBTQ plus people that can't walk through a door of a church without feeling, oh, I'm going to turn fire or something, bad is going to happen, and a place like Sunshine Cathedral and Unity on the Bay, where I go to, welcome all. Most churches that say that outside, all are welcome. Then you walk in, except the gays, except for you guys. And that's not the principles of Sunshine Cathedral. I got to give a big kudos to Gabe Salazar, right, and the music ministry over there for just being incredible. They were singing Bach.
It was incredible.
Okay, I was like blown away. I mean, it was an incredible service, and kudos to Sunshine Cathedral for making it just, for those people that grew up in religion, he makes it relatable. He makes it welcoming. He makes it okay. For so many of us queer people, we'll sit at a church and we'll still kind of deal like, oh, I don't belong here. I don't fit in. This is not for me. And that's not the case here. And that's why I love Sunshine Cathedral.
I love that you said that, because that speaks volumes to me. And I sympathize with your wife, who I love also. I love her. But I sympathize with that experience. I grew up very Catholic, teaching CCD and Monaguillo. I was an altar server in the Spanish language. These are the things that were meaningful to me as a kid, but it also made me abandon religion by the time I was a teenager, right? And that is I think that if I saw these kinds of messages, I don't think that would be true today. Maybe it would be. I don't know. Who knows, right? But I would feel that is my religion, right? That message is my religion, and that's a kind of message of hope, of love, of unity. That's what I want us to do more of.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Okay.
We'll move on.
Too intense. All right. Now let's queer up gay culture. Heidi and Closet joined Safe Schools at Miami Beach Pride to draw attention to LGBTQ plus youth. Iconic Heidi and Closet RuPaul's Drag Race Season 12 Miss Congeniality will be strutting down Ocean Drive with the rest of the LGBTQ plus community in Florida for Safe Schools on Sunday, April 16th at Ocean Drive, as the community will celebrate Miami Beach Pride and show the world the true meaning of love, unity, and acceptance. Miami Beach Pride is celebrating its 15th anniversary this year. The festivities include lavish floats, a queer art showcase designed to support local artists, social justice night as the community faces increasing legislative attacks, celebrity guests of honor, live performances, and much, much more. This year's two-day festival, presented by Celebrity Cruises, has grown tremendously and promises to be the biggest and best iteration of Miami Beach Pride to date. With Miami Beach Pride, as Miami Beach recognized as one of the most welcoming LGBTQ plus communities in the world, this year's theme of Growing Stronger Together honors the progress made and the defiance needed for the future. Get ready to sign up to walk with Heidi and Safe Schools at Miami Beach. Let's come together uplift one another, and rejoice in the beauty of love and diversity. Goodness, now I feel like you're just gonna make me cry. But maybe not. But I just want to say this is exactly the kind of message we're all talking about, right? This is exactly what we want to tap into. And we were saying earlier that we're not seeing that much in South Florida, in Florida on this. You know, here's a corrective to that statement, right? We're seeing a lot of great work being done at this local level, at the state level. Of getting us together, of getting us in support of one another. I'll also say, Patrick and my partner Patrick and I saw Heidi in Closet perform last year. She puts on a show.
Yeah, she's a
girl. She is good.
And how many times did Rue try to change her name?
And it did not work.
143, and it didn't work. And I would always say, like, just do it, just change it. Let Rue name you. I mean, that's awesome. And she would go, nope, I'm still hiding in the closet. Nope. And look at it now. Look how great it is. You know. So kudos to Safe Schools. To Scott Galvin, we love you so much.
You,
Francesca D'Amore, happy birthday, baby. It's your birthday today. We love you. We love you. And everything that you do. I think it's incredible that they got Heidi to be part of their protest. Okay, I'm not going to say a march. It's a protest. Pride started as a protest. So let's all be a part of Miami Beach Pride. You know, Unity on the Bay, the church that I'm a part of, that I host their Sunday services. We have a float. We're marching. We're getting everybody in the community that we can, because we know that there's strength in numbers, and we want to show those assholes that we really want to be our true, authentic self, and we deserve it because it's just a human right.
Yeah.
You know?
Exciting. Miami Beach Pride has an outstanding program. It's outstanding. We have I can't remember in recent years how important our Pride events are. One of the things on horizon for this Pride, Shangela is super talented. Shangela is going to be there in April of 2024. Shangela may not be allowed to Miami Beach Pride. That's a possibility. So this Pride is really important. And when every event that I go to, I'm going to be thinking about our trans community and our drag community that may not be allowed to come. And Miami Beach Pride and Pride organizations have to make the decision of tough decisions of, are we going to have our Pride events without big segments of our community? Those decisions are coming. So excited and heavy heart simultaneously for Miami Beach Pride. One other thing that I would have to say is, my goodness, if there is a model for us to pay attention to, it's Safe Schools. You think about this time a year ago, Gay, Don't Say Gay is launched, and the shell shock and the fight, and us spitting into the wind, frankly, in the fight against DeSantis, and the overwhelming power that the session had for the GOP. How could you possibly have a model that demonstrates and steps up for LGBT better than what we watch Safe Schools? Yeah. Safe Schools is better today than they were 12 months ago. Wow. And that is because Safe Schools said, oh, hell no. And it's not a question of whether they win or not, because they don't have the capability of winning. We do not collectively have the power to win. Miami Beach Pride does not have the power to win. But that's not the point. The point is that we are not going to go quietly into the night, and we are going to stand up and say, this is right and this is wrong. And do you stand on the side of right, or do you stand on the side of wrong? Safe Schools has done that amazingly. I am so proud of Safe Schools and our young voices. And this comes from a person that has constantly said, where are our Gen Zers? Well, I know where the hell they are. They've been up in Tallahassee, and they're going to be on that street on Ocean.
Wow. Did you just help me reflect on being a high school student at Miami Beach High School and not feeling comfortable to go to Pride, you know? And so this year I'm going to be strutting my stuff down on Ocean Drive, and also want to thank JLC Management, Model Management, for allowing me to do my first fashion show at the Hard Rock Guitar Hotel, where I walked for Floyd the Rock Artist. I looked wonderful. So I get to do that at Miami Beach Pride this year, and such an evolution from my high school days.
Oh, that's amazing.
That is amazing.
I love that. And Sandra Bernhardt will be there on Friday. I'm going to have her sign my boob. I'm going to say, Sandra, sign right here, baby girl.
I'm sorry, who?
How
And I'm sure she will.
How dare you?
I want her to sign
Dare you?
How dare
Is
you?
there anybody in the room that would go, how dare you?
Girl, she's going to motorboat you while she's at it.
That reminds me of our good friend Dino Mosquera from
Oh,
Outshine
yeah.
Film, right? How dare you?
How dare you?
Next, we report on our special partnership with Sunshine Cathedral, the world's largest queer church right here in Fort Lauderdale. We're broadcasting from our permanent set here at Sunshine in supporting that partnership. Happening Out Television Network broadcasts the largest LGBTQ plus religious live broadcast in the world every Sunday at 10:30 a.m. Eastern.
Well, we finished tonight's queer news headlines with what we call LGBTQ plus 1 minute news.
In LGBTQ plus 1 minute news, let's queer up courts. Supreme Court surprise as they rule for 12-year-old trans girl in West Virginia.
Got some breaking news out of the Supreme Court, not far from where we're sitting right now, where a new decision from the justices means West Virginia cannot stop a trans girl from playing on the girls' sports team, at least for now, in a case that could have a bigger impact nationwide, with more and more states putting in place laws to restrict LGBTQ plus rights. You've got the court refusing to let West Virginia fully enact a law called the Save Women's Sports Act, which has the effect of letting 12-year-old Becky Pepper Jackson stay on her school's cross-country and track teams. Again, at least for now. It all comes as the White House today is putting out a new proposal that basically says school sports teams cannot categorically ban transgender athletes. And they're calling out the anti-LGBTQ plus bills making their way through state houses across the country.
The Supreme Court has sided with a 12-year-old transgender girl who is challenging a West Virginia ban on transgender athletes joining girls' sports teams, temporarily blocking the state from enforcing the prohibition. West Virginia officials approved the prohibition in 2021. The law requires public schools to create sports teams based on the sex assigned at birth. Becky Pepper Jackson, a 12-year-old transgender girl who currently competes on her school's cross-country and track and field teams, sued, alleging that the prohibition violates the Constitution. The Supreme Court denied the state's request to temporarily revive the ban while the underlying litigation continues without explanation, as it often does in emergency cases.
In LGBTQ plus 1 minute news, let's queer up the worldview. Russia arrests LGBTQ plus YouTubers on their gay charges. Bloggers Hoi Yang and Gayla, who originally hail from China and Georgia, respectively, were arrested on April 5th over a YouTube video. The couple regularly records their lives as same-sex couple content creators in Russia. They have also shared their content on platforms like TikTok and Telegram. Shu was reportedly stopped in what seemed like a regular ID check. He wasn't carrying his passport at the time. The couple was later arrested while at a police station and charged under the gay propaganda law. In an interview with Newsweek, the couple said they were prevented from speaking to lawyers and pressured into signing a number of documents.
LGBTQ plus 1 minute news, let's queer up politics. Carlos Guillermo Smith, Florida's first gay Latino lawmaker, will run for state senate.
Former Democratic State Rep Carlos Guillermo Smith is throwing his hat in the ring again, this time running for a state Senate seat in 2024.
Real authentic representation for our community would matter more than ever before.
He was joined by community members and Democratic Florida lawmakers outside Orlando City Hall Saturday.
The last election cycle was a really tough one.
Smith served 6 years in the Florida House, but he lost his seat last year to Republican Susan Placencia. Smith is now going after the state Senate seat for District 17 in Orange County. On top of fair wages and expanding health care, Smith says gun violence prevention is top of mind. Governor Ron DeSantis recently signed the permitless concealed carry bill into law.
They have started to unravel the progress that Florida has made since Pulse and Parkland. This is going to make our state less safe.
Out politician Carlos Guillermo Smith is making a return to Florida politics. The Orlando Democrat filed to run for Florida Senate. Smith first won election to the Florida House months after the Pulse shooting rocked his community. Smith had campaigned for Democrat Andrew Gillum in the past. He served 3 terms in the Florida House but lost a 4th term after redistricting put him in an inhospitable district to a Republican. He's notably running in a more Democratic-friendly district now. If elected, he'll be the first out Latino to serve in the legislature's upper chamber. He will join Senator Chevron Jones, the first out politician elected to the Florida Senate.
LGBTQ plus 1-minute news. Let's queer up South Florida and Florida. Gay Alfredo Olivera runs to run Broward County Democrats. On Saturday, April 15th, the former president of the Dolphin Democrats, Alfredo Olivera, will stand as a candidate to be the next state committeeman for Broward Democratic Party. If elected, Alfredo would be the only LGBTQ plus representation and voice in the Broward Democratic Party leadership. He would also be the first Latino state committeeman for Broward. Alfredo holds an incredible track record of building the Dolphin Democrats from 80 to nearly 400 members. He's known to have the ability to lead on a diverse set of issues, from women's rights, racial justice, to school board representation. The supporters are requested to come out to vote on Saturday, April 15th at 9:30 a.m. at Flamingo Park Hall, Florida.
LGBTQ plus 1-minute news. Let's queer up trans rights. New study shows that lesbians overwhelmingly support trans community. The study shared on March 31st for Trans Day of Visibility by the LGBTQ plus youth charity Just Like Us showed that 74% who said they did not support trans people admitted they did not know a trans person. The study revealed that nearly 70% of non-LGBTQ plus young adults supported trans people. Of the 89% of LGBTQ plus young adults who said they supported trans people, lesbians were most likely to say they both know a trans person, that's at 92%, and express support for trans people, that's at 96%. Detailing key insights about trans allyship, the research found that personally knowing a trans person doubles the likelihood of trans allyship.
That is today news for the LGBT plus community on the world's first and only daily LGBTQ plus evening news show.
If our community is important to you, and we know it is, share this news with your friends and family. Are you, like most of America, part of our very large television audience watching this live LGBTQ plus news broadcast right now on Roku, Apple TV, Android TV, and Amazon Fire TV?
Queer News Tonight is the only live LGBTQ plus digital television show in the world that is out of the closet and into the headlines. We need your support. If our community is to grow, we must tell our stories and bring them to the attention of the broader world.
This is the only place in the world that tells these types of LGBTQ plus stories in motion and sound. That is the passion of Hotspots Magazine, Happening Out Television Network, and Queer News Tonight.
I'm your anchor, Al Ferguson, and on behalf of these LGBTQ plus reporters, the anchors of Queer News Tonight, including FayWhat, Dr. Julio Capo Jr., Amy McGrotty, and Francia. We will see you daily at 8 p.m. But before we end our broadcast, we have one final story. Next, let's queer up the big interview. Senator Chevron Jones talks attacks on Florida session, drag, students, trans, and LGBTQ plus attacks at Harvey Milk's Diversity Honors. FayWhat and I were recently at the Diversity Honors at the Seminole Hard Rock Casino and Hotel, where we interviewed Senator Chevron Jones. He was recognized at Diversity Honors for his incredible political work toward the LGBTQ plus community. He talked about getting recognized by the esteemed Harvey Milk Foundation. Jones expressed his views on the current socio-political situation in Tallahassee, including attacks on the Florida session, rage against drag shows and performers, students, trans community members, and other LGBTQ plus attacks.
Well, FayWhat and I are at Diversity Honors at the Seminole Hard Rock, and this gentleman between us needs no introduction.
None!
He is our champion currently going on at legislative session in Tallahassee, and that is, of course, Senator Chevron Jones.
You have to say his name and you have to do an audience cry.
Like the HBO vibration. Got it? Got it. All right, we'll work on that next time you're here.
It's Chev, man.
All right, so let's jump right into it. First off, you're being recognized tonight for all of the incredible political accomplishments you've had for LGBT. When you heard the news that the Harvey Milk Foundation and Pride Center at Equality Park were going to recognize you, what were your first thoughts?
Wow. I kid you not, because I don't do the work for the recognition. I do the work because it's the right thing to do. Yeah. And when I got the email, I was really blown away and really grateful. I'm humble for the opportunity.
Yeah. Faye, are you shocked that they told him by email instead of picking up the phone?
I was like, nobody calls anymore. Was it a millennial who gave you the award? I mean, come on. He didn't send you a TikTok video saying, Chev, you won.
You won.
I'll take it. I'm a millennial, so the text messages work just fine for me.
Did you hear him drop the bomb in? I'm a millennial. How about you and Faye? Yeah. Okay, we heard you loud and clear.
That's what it is.
All right, let's talk about what's going on just briefly.
Yeah. Please briefly.
Big celebration tonight, but you're right in the midst of it. What do you think about what you're watching?
Well, I think what we're seeing in Tallahassee right now is a national agenda that's taking place. Yeah, but I think when you look at the people who are here at this event now, it clearly shows you that we're on the right side of history and that the Republicans are on the wrong side of what's happening right now. And I think we are going to have to continue to fight against what we see right now, and in the end, we win. Yeah, and we're seeing that right now.
Yeah, you know, one of the interesting things when you say that they're not in it, I just noticed a few moments ago, I was hearing Governor Ron DeSantis is here tonight celebrating your. Oh wait,
no,
I might have got that wrong.
No, he's not here. No, he's not. He's doing a happy dance because Trump got indicted. Yeah. That's what's going on. All right.
Yes, you're right.
Right?
Yes, absolutely.
Right. Chev, what are you looking forward to most tonight in this recognition about political advocacy in our LGBTQ community? What are you looking forward to?
You know what? To be honest with you, I'm really not looking for anything in it for me. I'm really looking forward to really just getting to know some of the people who are out here who are actually doing a lot of the work locally. And I'm really looking forward to just connecting to and gaining in, taking in the energy that's happening outside right now. Yeah, because at the end of the day, I think the energy is what I need and so many others need. Because it's only Michelle Ranger Gooseby and I right now in the legislature. And you know, I find that just to be just fine, but I'm looking forward to the day. It's many of us.
We're looking forward to the day, and that day starts tonight at Diversity.
No, and we can't let Chev go without this, okay? So look, he works his ass off, right? He's constantly working for us. If you tell Chev be here because we're doing this, he's going to show up. Yep. He's been on Queer News tonight, a handful of times. He's always there showing up. But then I see Chev and he's like half his size. When did he find the time to lose weight? Is it because they're not feeding you up there in Tallahassee? Do I need to go up there and kick some butt? What's going on?
It's the GOP grand design to starve Senator Chev Jones to death.
That and just going to the gym.
And that too.
But what I haven't given up is my vodka. The doctor said
Stoli vodka. Diversity honors.
No, it's no coincidence that we're gonna find Chev in front of Stoli.
Yeah, exactly.
Literally.
Look, for everybody in Florida, if you don't know, I know you do know in Florida, but all over the country, you're watching one of the rising stars in the LGBTQ community in politics in America. Senator Chevron Jones winning the Political Advocacy Award tonight at the Harvey Milk Foundation's Diversity Honors. Congratulations.
Thank you, Al.
We love you, Chev. You know that.
LGBTQ plus news is vital for our community and for the broader world as a whole. We have enough enemies at Fox News. Tucker, Sean, and Laura are loud. We need passionate allies. Happening Out television network, Queer News Tonight, and It's Happening Out are literally out of the closet and into the headlines. Our community needs your support. Like this broadcast and subscribe now to ensure the growth of the entire LGBTQ plus